Who could have imagined that the spirit transferring tower, built by Huo Yuhao with the noble dream of peace between humans and soul beasts, would one day become the very symbol of their extinction? What began as an act of compassion, born from the struggles of a man who bridged the gap between two worlds, eventually twisted into a nightmare that consumed both the soul beasts and the human continent itself. 10,000 years ago, Huo Yuhao used his wisdom and heart to end the endless war between the soul beasts of the Stardew Great Forest and the humans who relied on hunting them for soul rings. To bring harmony, he established the Spirit Transferring Tower, an unprecedented creation that allowed humans to obtain soul rings without killing soul beasts. This invention seemed like salvation. Through the Spirit Transferring Tower, humans could contract with soul beasts in a new form: soul spirits. These soul spirits would continue to exist even after their host's death, carrying part of their strength into the next bond. To the humans, this was a miracle. To the soul beasts, it was a hope for survival. Huo Yuhao's dream was to build an eternal bridge between species, a world where no one would need to die for power. Under his guidance, the tower flourished. Conflicts between humans and soul beasts lessened. The killing fields of the wilderness fell silent, and for the first time in history, the continent experienced true coexistence. However, peace built on power never lasts without guardians. When Huo Yuhao ascended to godhood and departed from the mortal world, the balance began to crumble. Without his vision and restraint, the Spirit Transferring Tower lost its original purpose. What had once been a sanctuary for harmony became a fortress of greed. Its leaders sought influence, dominance, and wealth. They expanded rapidly, spreading branches across every empire, embedding their authority into the fabric of the continent. The dream that was meant to protect the soul beasts turned into a machine that exploited them. 10,000 years later, the Spirit Transferring Tower had become one of the three great powers of the world, standing equal to the Tang sect and the re-established Shrek Academy. Yet beneath its shining banners of progress lay the stench of decay. The Stardew Great Forest, once the cradle of all soul beasts, was almost gone. The vast forest that once echoed with the roars of 10,000-year beasts had been reduced to a dying wasteland. Only the core area remained, home to a few weakened species clinging to survival. The mighty 100,000-year soul beasts, those once revered as the kings of the forest, could now be counted on one hand. The Spirit Pagoda had become the very enemy it was meant to eliminate. Its members began forcibly capturing living soul beasts, sealing their consciousness, and enslaving them as artificial spirits. These beings were no longer partners. They were commodities, tools for humans to use and discard. The harmony that Huo Yuhao envisioned had been desecrated, replaced by tyranny masked as progress. The Spirit Pagoda's greed knew no bounds, and their influence stretched into every corner of the continent, corrupting hearts and institutions alike. But the worst tragedy came when ambition crossed the final line of madness. Changgu Dongfeng, the third master of the Spirit Pagoda, sought to surpass even the legendary Shrek Academy. He dreamed of dominance, of establishing the Spirit Pagoda as the supreme power of the Douluo Continent. To achieve this, he committed the unforgivable. He allied himself with the dark forces of the Holy Spirit Church, a sect of necromancers and demons who worship destruction. From them, Changgu Dongfeng obtained two terrifying weapons: Level 12 fixed soul-guided shells, weapons of mass destruction powerful enough to slay even gods. Then came the day of catastrophe. The Spirit Pagoda launched its assault, and the shells fell upon Shrek's city like twin stars of death. The explosion was beyond comprehension. Mountains shook, the earth split, and the entire Shrek Academy, once hailed as the continent's sacred land of knowledge and power, was wiped from existence in an instant. Tens of thousands of students and teachers perished in the fiery devastation. The once glorious campus, where countless legends had been born, was reduced to dust. At the heart of this tragedy stood Yunming, the Qingtian Douluo. A prodigy whose strength had already surpassed the mortal realm, Yunming had created his own godhood through sheer will and brilliance. Yet in the face of this calamity, he made the ultimate sacrifice. To shield the remaining students and his beloved wife, Yali, Yunming detonated his incomplete godhood. unleashing a divine explosion that neutralized the destructive aftermath and saved the remnants of Shrek from total annihilation. His body disintegrated into light, his spirit scattering across the skies, forever engraved in the hearts of those who survived. Yali, the healing Douluo and Yunming's companion, witnessed the moment her husband perished. The woman, once radiant with divine vitality, aged decades in a single instant. Her power faded, her heart shattered, yet she continued to live, carrying the burden of Shrek's fallen hope. The survivors fled the ruins, wandering through darkness, clinging to the memory of their fallen homeland. For a time, it seemed as though the legend of Shrek had finally ended. But legends do not die so easily. From the ashes of ruin rose a new generation led by Tang Wulin, the heir of the Tang sect and the bearer of the Golden Dragon King's bloodline. Alongside his comrades, the 7 Shrek monsters, Tang Wulin took on the sacred duty of revival. Together with the support of the Tang sect, they rebuilt what was lost. They restored the Academy's light, not as a place of pride, but as a symbol of resilience. Shrek and Tang sect united as one. Their forces grew, their spirits rekindled, and when the time came, they marched upon the Spirit Pagoda. The battle was fierce, shaking the heavens themselves. Tang Wulin, backed by the will of Shrek's fallen heroes, faced Qianggu Dongfeng and his heir, Qianggu Zhangting, in a final confrontation that would decide the fate of the continent. The father and son, once drunk on power and delusion, met their end at the hands of justice. The Spirit Pagoda, once a pillar of light, crumbled beneath the weight of its own sins. Thus ended the cycle of betrayal that began with noble intentions. The world that Huo Yuhao dreamed of had long since vanished, but his legacy lived on through the actions of those who still believed in true coexistence. The Spirit Pagoda's corruption became a lesson carved deep into history, that even the most beautiful ideals can rot when power overshadows purpose. The tragedy of the Spirit Pagoda serves as a reminder. Peace cannot survive without guardians. A dream left unchecked will be twisted by greed, and even the purest creation can turn into the seed of destruction. 10,000 years ago, Huo Yuhao sought to unite the world. 10,000 years later, it was his descendants who bore the burden of his dream's collapse. And so, the question remains. Was the Spirit Pagoda ever truly a symbol of peace, or was it destined from the start to become the source of ruin? What do you think? Was Huo Yuhao's creation a blessing, or the beginning of the end for the soul beasts? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and let us discuss how one man's dream became the Douluo Continent's greatest tragedy. And so, the tale of the Spirit Transferring Tower comes full circle. A story born from hope, but consumed by greed. From Huo Yuhao's selfless dream of unity to Qianggu Dongfeng's ruthless ambition, 10,000 years of history have turned peace into ashes and ideals into weapons. Yet even in the darkest of times, the light of Shrek never truly fades. Through countless sacrifices and generations of heroes, the will of Tang's sect in Shrek Academy continues to burn, reminding the world that no matter how deep corruption spreads, justice will always rise again. If you enjoyed this story of tragedy, legacy, and redemption, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Tell us, do you believe peace can ever truly exist between humans and soul beasts? Or was Huo Yuhao's dream destined to fail from the very beginning? Until next time, this is Soul Land 2, the rise and fall of the Spirit Pagoda, where ideals become legends and legends become history.